The glass hits the marble floor of Aurum restaurant, and nobody moves. Not the sommelier frozen 3 feet away with a bottle of 1998 Chateau Petrus tilted in his white-gloved hands. Not the couple at the adjacent table mid-laugh, her fork suspended in the air. Not the maitre d' whose left foot had already lifted for the next step and is now just stopped. Like someone yanked the power cord on the entire room, the only person who moves is the man at table 7. Zavier Okafor's on his feet before the last crystal shard stops sliding across the marble. 210 pounds of controlled precision in a black suit that cost more than most people's rent. His jaws tight. His eyes have already moved past the shattered glass, past the frozen staff, nay, past every carefully arranged detail of this evening he spent 3 weeks constructing, and locked onto the entrance of the private dining room, where a man is standing, breathing hard, hand pressed flat against the doorframe like he needs it to stay upright. Belly round and high and unmistakably pregnant beneath a cream-knit sweater. Dark eyes cutting straight across the room to table 7 like a blade finding its mark. The 7-year-old boy seated across from Zavier twists in his chair. His name is Malik. He has sapphire-blue hearing aids behind both ears and the kind of face that notices everything. Every shift, every silence, every change in his father's posture before his father is even aware of the change himself. Malik's small fingers lift. He signs a single word to his father. Who? Zavier does not sign back. That, no, right there is the answer. Hi viewers, kindly tell us where you're watching from and what time it is. Because what you are about to watch unfold at table 7 is the kind of moment that does not announce itself before it arrives. The kind that rearranges everything, quietly, completely, the way a single card pulled from the bottom rearranges a tower. Zavier Okafor has survived federal investigations, hostile takeovers, and 3 attempts on his life between the ages of 27 and 33. He has sat across from men who wanted him dead and ordered dessert without blinking. He has never, in 41 years, looked at another person the way he is looking at this man right now. Not with fear, with something worse than fear, with recognition. The pregnant man at the door doesn't wait for an invitation. He pushes off the doorframe, straightens his spine, and walks into the room like he owns the floor beneath every step. His name is Sebastien Bouchard-Williams. And the last time Zavier Okafor saw him was exactly 26 weeks and 4 days ago. The math hits Zavier at the same moment his eyes drop, just once, just for a fraction of a second, to Sebastian's belly. He picks up that fraction of a second like a weapon. He walks directly to table 7 and stops on the other side of the white tablecloth. He does not sit down. He does not speak. He just looks at Zavier Okafor with 26 weeks of something enormous and unspoken pressing against the inside of his chest, and waits to see what the most powerful man in the room will do when the room stops being his. Malik tugs his father's sleeve, signs again, more urgent this time. Daddy. He's crying. Zavier looks at his son, looks back at Sebastien. Sebastien Bouchard-Williams is not crying. His eyes are completely dry. His face is composed in the way that faces are composed when composure is the last wall standing between a person and something they cannot afford to let out in a restaurant on a Tuesday night. But his hands, both of them, pressed against his belly, are shaking. And Malik, who has lived his entire life reading the things that people's bodies say when their mouths won't, has understood something in 3 seconds flat that Zavier has been refusing to understand for 26 weeks. The waiter arrives at table 7, opens his mouth, closes it, looks between the 2 men, backs away silently. Smart man. Zavier pulls out the empty chair. Not warmly, not as an invitation, as a decision. The way he makes all his decisions, fast and final, and with the full understanding that what happens next is going to cost him something he cannot yet calculate. Sit down, Sebastian, he says. His voice is granite, wrapped in silk. Before I decide you were never here. Sebastian sits. He pulls the chair in himself, both hands on the armrests, lowering his body with the careful, deliberate movement of a man 26 weeks along who has learned which positions hurt and which ones don't. He settles, adjusts the cream sweater over his belly, places his hands flat on the white tablecloth, and says nothing. The silence between them is the kind that has texture. Malik looks at the man across the table, then at his father, then back. His sapphire hearing aids catch a note from the string quartet playing somewhere deeper in the restaurant, and his eyebrows lift for exactly 1 second before his attention snaps back to the adults. Because this, whatever this is more interesting than violins right now, and Malik has never once in his 7 years on Earth failed to prioritize interesting over comfortable. He signs to his father, "Is he angry at you?" Zavier does not answer. Sebastien watches the boy's hands move. Something crosses his face. Fast, unguarded, there, and gone. He looks at Malik the way people look at things that surprise them by being beautiful. Then he raises his right hand and signs, slowly, carefully, the signs of someone who is still learning but has been practicing. "Hello. My name is Sebastien." Malik's face splits open like sunrise. He signs back at full speed, words tumbling over each other. His name, his age, the breadbasket situation, the 2 violins and 1 cello he identified from the other room. A question about whether Sebastien likes bread because the bread here is important. It is the best bread. His daddy ordered it special. Sebastien watches every sign with complete attention. Signs back, "I love bread." Malik points at the basket and nods, as if this is the correct answer to a test he designed. Zavier watches all of this without moving. His jaw is working the way it works when he is processing something he does not want to process. There is a habit he has. His security lead. Deshawn has mentioned it twice in 11 years, both times as a risk indicator, where his right thumb finds the empty space on his left wrist, where his cufflink should be, and presses. 1 slow press, holds, releases. He does it now. "You have 30 seconds, Zavier says. Low, private, aimed at Sebastien and not at Malik. To give me a version of why you're here that isn't what I think this is." Sebastien meets his eyes. "I don't have that version." The thumb presses the bare wrist again. "Then you have 30 seconds to give me the real version." "I need more than 30 seconds. You have what I'm giving you." Sebastian's fingers spread flat against the tablecloth. "Your CFO is stealing from you." He says it like he's reading a weather report. No tremor, no performance. Just the clean, direct delivery of someone who has rehearsed this moment for 11 days and decided that plainness is the only strategy left. Marcus Webb, $12 million, 8 months. He's been moving it in amounts small enough to avoid your automated flags. And the company the money is going into is controlled by people who want to use it to trigger an audit of your pre-legitimacy Chicago transactions. Zavier says nothing. "They're not after your money," Sebastien continues. "They're building a legal structure around you. Something they can use to threaten your custody arrangement." He pauses, 1 beat. "For Malik." The name lands on the table between them like something physical. Malik, who cannot hear this conversation and is currently deciding which piece of bread to offer Sebastien first, looks up and sees his father's face. Signs immediately, "Daddy." What happened? Not a question. No, Malik does not make it a question because Malik already knows the answer is something that lives in the space between adults. Something real and heavy that people his age aren't supposed to touch yet. Zavier signs back, keeping his hands below the table edge. "Everything is fine. Eat your bread." Malik's eyes stay on his father's face for 3 full seconds. Then, he picks up his bread and takes a slow bite, watching both adults the way a chess player watches the board. Sebastien speaks again, quieter now. "I've had this information for 6 days. I verified it independently before I came." "Why are you here, Sebastien?" "You know why I'm here." "Say it." Sebastian's hands stop being flat. His right one moves, slow and involuntary, to his belly. He doesn't seem to notice he's done it. "Because 26 weeks ago, we were both in Chicago, and I think..." His voice drops 1 register. "I think you already know what I'm about to tell you. And I think you have known for weeks, and have been choosing not to pick up the phone." The string quartet plays something that sounds like a slow question. Xavier's thumb finds the bare wrist, presses, holds. This time, he does not release. Get out. 2 words, no volume, no visible emotion. The kind of order that has always worked because it has never needed to be given twice. Sebastien does not move. The candle between them pushes light across the white tablecloth. A waiter appears at the edge of the private dining room, reads the atmosphere in one glance, and exits without making a sound. From somewhere below on the street, 43 floors down, a horn bleats once and dies. I said, I heard you. Sebastian's voice is even. I'm not leaving. The air in the room does something tight and specific. Zavier Okafor has a particular stillness that people who have been near him in dangerous rooms have learned to read correctly. It is not calm. It is the stillness of a loaded thing. A pressure valve at maximum, held by a mechanism so disciplined it looks like peace from the outside. The people who have mistaken it for actual peace are not people who made that mistake twice. Sebastien Bouchard-Williams has been in enough rooms with enough powerful men to know exactly what that stillness means. He stays seated anyway. You've known for how long, Sebastien says. Not accusation. Just the straight line of a question with no decoration on it. That's not your conversation to have with me. It is exactly my conversation to have with you. Sebastian's hand is still on his belly, still without him noticing, because in 14 weeks, there will be 2 people in this world who share your blood, Xavier. And they are currently inside my body. And the man who is stealing your money is the same man whose employer has been trying to remove you from Malik's life for the past 18 months. And those 2 things are not separate problems. He pauses. They are the same problem, and you cannot fix one without addressing the other. Malik has gone very still. He cannot hear the words, but he can see Sebastian's face. He can see his father's shoulders. He can see the particular angle of his father's head that appears when something is being said that his father does not want to be true. Malik has a library of his father's body language, built from 7 years of close observation in a silent world. And right now, every entry in that library is pointing at one word: danger. He signs to his father under the table, small and private. Should I be scared? Xavier does not look down immediately. When he does, his face makes the adjustment. The one Malik has always called the daddy face. The face that means, I will burn this entire room down before I let anything touch you. He signs back. No. You are safe. I am right here. Malik nods, goes back to his bread. But his eyes stay up. Sebastian watches the exchange between father and son. When he speaks again, something in his delivery has changed. Not softer exactly, but stripped of its last layer of rehearsal. I know what this looks like. I know how it sounds. A man walks into a restaurant, sits down uninvited, says the words. I know you have 10 different versions of how to end this conversation, and walk out of here and deal with me later. He tilts his chin forward slightly. But later is not a strategy this time. Webb moves the next tranche of money in 72 hours. After that, the structure is locked. After that, you're in a position where fighting it costs you things you cannot buy back. Xavier's eyes move from Sebastian to the entrance of the private dining room, to the gray-suited man who has just appeared there. Carter Reed, 40 years old, silver temples. The particular expression of a man delivering a message he was paid to deliver and nothing more. His eyes move across the room with professional efficiency, past the other tables, past the waiter station, straight to table 7. No, Sebastian goes very still. He does not turn around. He reads the information off Xavier's face instead. Who? Sebastian says. Carter Reed, Xavier says. Sebastian closes his eyes for exactly 2 seconds, opens them. He works for my father. I know who he works for. He's here because my father knows I left the apartment. Yes. Which means the phone I left behind was already compromised. Yes. Sebastian exhales once, short and sharp. Then he straightens his spine. A physical reset, deliberate. And his face resettles into something that has no visible crack in it. He picks up the water glass in front of him and takes one slow sip. Sets it down. Smooths the tablecloth with 2 fingers. Don't let him come to the table, Sebastien says quietly. If he gets to the table, my father has it documented that you and I met voluntarily. Now, and that becomes a piece of the case they're building. Xavier's already standing. He buttons his jacket with one hand, drops the folded napkin onto the table with the other. He looks at Malik and signs, "Stay here. Eat everything. Do not sign to anyone you don't know. I will be 2 minutes." Malik signs back. "What about him?" Pointing at Sebastien with one careful finger. Xavier looks at Sebastien, looks at his son. Signs, he stays. He walks toward Carter Reed before the man can take another step into the room. Behind him, Sebastien Bouchard-Williams exhales fully for the first time since he walked through the door. He turns slightly in his chair and looks at Malik, who is looking back at him with 7 years of quiet intelligence arranged carefully across his small face. Malik signs, "Are you okay?" Sebastien blinks. I signs back slowly. "Getting there." Malik considers this, picks up the breadbasket, pushes it across the table with both hands. Because bread is what you give a person who's getting there, but is not there yet. And outside the private dining room, 2 men are having a conversation near the hostess stand that ends in 11 words. A folded business card passed between them, and Carter Reed walking back out the front entrance of Aurum without a single glance behind him. The question is not what Xavier said. The question is what Xavier promised, and whether he can deliver it before 72 hours run out. Xavier returns to the table and sits down in one motion. Doesn't explain Carter Reed. Doesn't offer it. Lifts his water glass, drinks, sets it down, and looks at Sebastien with an expression that is completely unreadable to everyone in the room except Malik, who reads it immediately and signs to nobody in particular. Daddy made a deal he's not sure about. Sebastien waits. "Marcus Webb has been my CFO for 9 years, Xavier says. Flat, informational. He has access codes that reset on a 48-hour cycle, a secondary authentication protocol, and a direct line to the offshore account structure that my legal team spent 4 years building. He also has a 7-year-old goddaughter named Priya, whose birthday party I attended 6 weeks ago." He pauses. "Tell me exactly what you know. Every detail, starting from the first transaction," Sebastien tells him. He is precise. He has the kind of memory that does not require notes. Dates, amounts, account routing numbers, the name of the shell company, the name of the holding group that owns the shell company, the name of the man at the Mercer organization who opened the account. He delivers it in sequence, no emotion, no editorializing. The way someone delivers information they have turned over so many times in their mind that it has been worn smooth. Xavier listens without interrupting. His right thumb finds the bare wrist once. Stops. Does not press. He has gone somewhere else. The place he goes when a problem is being processed at the level beneath language, where the variables are being sorted and weighted and arranged into the shape of a solution. Malik eats his pasta. He has accepted the situation with the practical adaptability of a child who has learned that adults sometimes have complicated evenings and that the best response is to be quiet. I eat everything and stay close. He watches both adults between bites. His hearing aids pull in fragments, the clink of glass, a distant laugh from the main dining room, a violin phrase, and his face shifts with each sound, small private reactions to a world of music and noise that other people take for granted. Sebastien finishes. The silence after holds for 8 seconds, then, "How did you get this?" "Someone inside the Mercer organization," Sebastien says. "I won't give you the name. I gave them my word. I need the name. You need the information. You have it. The name isn't part of what I'm giving you." Xavier's jaw moves. "That's not your call." "It is entirely my call." Sebastien's voice does not shift, because the person who gave me this put themselves at real risk to do it. And I am not burning a source to satisfy a preference. The word preference lands with its full weight. Xavier looks at him for a long moment. "Fine," he says. Malik tugs his father's sleeve. Signs. The bread man is watching us. Both adults turn. 3 tables away, a man in a dark jacket has his phone angled at an angle that is technically casual and actually not. Restaurant. 43 floors up. Possible planted surveillance or possible civilian with poor awareness. Zavier flags Deshawn, his security lead stationed at the dining room entrance, with a single movement of 2 fingers. Deshawn disappears in the direction of the dark jacket man without altering his walking pace by a single step. You have good security, Sebastien says. You walked past him to get to my table. He let me through. Zavier looks at him. Hey, I know. Which means Deshawn flagged Sebastien the moment he entered the building. Which means Zavier had 15 seconds of warning before Sebastien appeared at the private dining room door. Which means the dropped glass, the one that froze the entire room at the start of this evening, was not an accident. Sebastien reads this on Zavier's face. You dropped the glass on purpose, Sebastien says. I needed the room to stop. Why? Zavier looks at Malik. At his son's hands moving through a private sign language story, he is telling himself about the pasta, unaware he's being watched, completely absorbed in his own quiet world. Then, he looks back at Sebastien, and for the first time tonight, the controlled surface does not fully reassemble. Because you walked in here, Zavier says slowly, and you are 26 weeks along, and I needed 3 seconds to decide whether the person I am in this room, he pauses, is the same person I was in Chicago. The candle between them pushes its small orange light against both their faces. Are you the same person? Sebastien asks. Zavier's jaw tightens, doesn't answer, which is, in its own way, the most complete answer possible. Malik sets down his fork, signs to his father, serious and direct, Daddy, he needs to tell you something else. I can see it. Zavier looks at his son, looks at Sebastien. Sebastien's hands are on his belly. His eyes are steady. But below the table, out of sight, his left foot is pressing flat against the floor, the small physical anchor of a person holding something enormous in place by will alone. Say the rest, Zavier says. Sebastien exhales. It's not just the money, he says. And it's not just Malik's custody arrangement. He holds Zavier's gaze without flinching. 3 days ago, one of the people involved in the Mercer structure put a question to a specific kind of lawyer, a question about omega parental rights in cases where the alpha parent has a documented criminal history. The room temperature doesn't change, but something in Zavier's face does. They know about the pregnancy, Sebastien says, which means they know about Chicago, which means somewhere in the last 26 weeks, someone connected you to me and is planning to use both of us and everything we represent to take Malik. Malik signs. What did he say, Daddy? Zavier does not answer. His thumb finds the bare wrist. This time the press is so hard it leaves a mark. The terrace door opens and the February air hits like a flat hand. Zavier steps out first. Sebastien follows, one hand on the doorframe, adjusting to the cold and the height simultaneously. 43 floors of open city, spreading in every direction, beneath a sky the color of dark amber, all the light pushing up from below. The buildings glittering in that particular New York way that looks like the whole city is daring you to look away. Zavier's already at the railing. He doesn't turn around. Talk, he says. His voice disappears into the wind almost immediately. Out here, Manhattan absorbs everything. Every word, every confession, every calculation. The city takes it all in without comment. Sebastien stops 6 feet behind him. He does not move closer. He looks at the back of Zavier's shoulders, the precise set of them, the held tension running from the base of his neck through both trapezoids, and says, The lawyer's name is Ellison Hartgrove. He's practiced family law in New York for 22 years. He has a relationship with the Mercer family going back to a 2014 case that was settled privately. The question he was asked 3 days ago was specific: whether an Omega parent could petition for full parental rights in cases where the Alpha's pre-legitimacy criminal record could be surfaced through civil discovery. Zavier's hands are on the railing. They're not improvising this, Sebastien continues. This has been structured. Webb moves the money, the audit gets triggered, the Chicago records get surfaced in civil court rather than criminal. And simultaneously, Hartgrove files on behalf of an unnamed petitioner to challenge your fitness as Malik's guardian. He pauses. The unnamed petitioner is a member of the Mercer family using a legal proxy. They don't want custody of Malik. They want the threat of it. They want you sitting across from a family court judge with your pre-2019 financial history on the table, choosing between fighting for your son and fighting for your company, because you cannot do both at the same time. Zavier turns around. His face in the amber city light is the face of a man who has just had a thing confirmed that he already knew. The particular expression of someone for whom the worst news is not a surprise, but is still, when it arrives in full detail, a different weight than the anticipation of it. His eyes are dark and completely steady. Whatever is happening inside him is happening in a place none of it reaches. How long have you known about Hartgrove? He says. 3 days. And before that, you had the web information for 6 days. Yes. You waited 6 days before you came to me. I verified everything first. I was not going to walk into this restaurant with half a case and watch you decide I was running a play. Sebastian's jaw is tight. I needed to be certain. You could have called. Your phones are monitored. Mine are monitored. A call between us at this point in their timeline would have told them I'd warned you. I needed them to think they still had the element of surprise. Zavier looks at him. So you came in person, without your phone, left it at your apartment. Which they are watching. Which they are watching, Sebastian confirms. Which means Carter Reed was downstairs within 40 minutes of me leaving. And your father sent him. My father does not do favors for free. Whatever arrangement he has with the Mercer family is one I don't fully know yet. What I know is that he sent Carter Reed here tonight to retrieve me, and the fact that Carter Reed walked away without me means you said something to him that held. Zavier says nothing. What did you promise him? Sebastian asks. That's between Carter Reed and me. It's not, because whatever you promised affects my position with my father, and my father's position affects the safety of... Sebastian stops. His hand moves to his belly, holds there. The wind pushes his sweater flat against the curve of his body. Out here in the cold and the amber light, the pregnancy is more visible than it was inside. Rounder, more present, more real. Affects the safety of these two, he finishes quietly. And I need to know what I'm walking back into. The city hums 43 floors below. A helicopter moves across the sky to the east, its red light blinking at even intervals. I told Carter Reed, Zavier says, that any action taken by his employer against Sebastien Bouchard-Williams, personally, legally, or financially, in the next 30 days, would result in 3 specific pieces of information reaching 3 specific federal addresses. He pauses. Information that his employer has been managing for 6 years, and that I have held as a courtesy. Sebastian stares at him. You used leverage on my father. I used leverage on Carter Reed's employer. Tonight those are the same person. Zavier, your father will stand down for 30 days. 30 days is all I need. He moves away from the railing, stops 2 feet from Sebastian. Up close, the controlled surface is the same, but the distance between them is different out here, on this terrace, in this cold, without a table and a child in a public room to organize the space. In 30 days, Marcus Webb is gone, the shell company is dismantled, the Hartgrove consultation is buried in a counterfiling that took his license to practice last time he cut corners in 2019, and the Mercer family's proxy has nothing to file because the predicate it relies on no longer exists in discoverable form. Sebastian studies his face. You have contingencies for all of that already built. I have contingencies for most of it already built. A pause. That's the Hartgrove piece required tonight. Because you needed what I know. Because I needed what you know. The honesty of it lands between them without decoration. No softening, no frame. Just the plain architecture of the thing. 2 people standing on a terrace in February with a city full of consequences below them, acknowledging that they need each other in ways that are practical and documented, and also, underneath all of that, something else entirely. Something neither of them has the available space to address right now. Go back inside, Sebastian says. Malik's been alone for 8 minutes. 7, Zavier says. Deshawn has eyes on him. Still. Zavier doesn't move. His eyes stay on Sebastian's face with a focus that is so complete it feels like pressure. The twins, he says, one word at a time, deliberate and unavoidable. Shh, twin boys. You said 14 weeks. Sebastian holds his gaze. Yes. And you have been doing this alone since I confirmed it. Yes. A muscle in Xavier's jaw moves, just once. That ends tonight. It is not romantic. It is not delivered with warmth or performed with feeling. It is the voice of a man who has just added something to a list of problems that he intends to solve, placed it there with the same weighted finality as the Webb situation and the Hartgrove consultation. An acknowledgement of a fact, a decision about what will be done about it. But Sebastian, who has spent 6 months managing an enormous truth entirely by himself, in a body that is running on insufficient sleep and too much herbal tea and the dogged loyalty of a housekeeper named Miss Odette, who makes him eat sweet potatoes every morning without asking, Sebastian hears it differently. He hears it the way a person hears something they stopped expecting to hear. He looks away from Xavier, looks at the city, breathes. Go see about your son, he says. His voice is steady. Mostly. Xavier holds for one more second. Then he turns and goes back inside. The terrace door slides shut. Sebastian stays in the February cold for a moment longer, both hands on his belly. The amber city filling every direction below. Somewhere inside, a 7-year-old boy with sapphire hearing aids is sitting at table 7, waiting for his father, probably eating everything that wasn't nailed down, probably signing something extraordinary to himself about violins. And somewhere in this same city, Marcus Webb is moving money through a structure he believes is invisible. And somewhere, a man named Ellison Hartgrove has a case file open on his desk with Malik Okafor's name on it. And somewhere, a gray-suited man named Carter Reed is sitting in a car deciding whether the promise he received tonight is worth the call he has to make to the man who sent him. Sebastian presses both palms flat against his belly, feels the particular interior weight of 2 lives that do not yet know what world they are being born into. I know, he says quietly, to no one, to them. Goes back inside. And the moment those terrace doors close behind him, inside the private dining room at Aurum, Malik Okafor, who has been watching the terrace door with the steady patience of a boy who has learned to wait, looks up at the entrance, sees his father, sees Sebastian behind him, and signs to his father with complete calm, pointing at the chair where Sebastian had been sitting, where Sebastian is now moving back toward. I saved his bread. He didn't finish. Xavier stops walking, looks at his son, looks at the bread Malik has carefully wrapped in a cloth napkin and placed on the edge of the plate. And for a reason he will not examine right now, for a reason that has nothing to do with Marcus Webb or Ellison Hartgrove or the Mercer family or any of the 30-day countdown that has just begun. Xavier Okafor's throat closes. He sits down, signs to Malik. That was thoughtful. Malik shrugs, signs back. He looked hungry. Also, I think he's scared. Also, I think you know him from before. Also, he pauses, signing with the full gravity of a 7-year-old, making an important announcement. I think he should stay for dessert. Sebastian lowers himself back into the chair. The bread is still warm. And 3 blocks east, in a building with no name on the door, a phone is ringing on a desk beside an open case file, and the man who answers it is about to find out that the woman he paid to monitor Sebastien Bouchard-Williams' apartment watched Sebastian leave over 2 hours ago and never thought to call until now. The countdown started the moment Sebastian walked through that door. Now it is running. And 72 hours is a very short time when the thing they are trying to protect is not money, not reputation, not a company or a legacy or a position, but a small boy with sapphire hearing aids who saves bread for strangers and reads rooms better than any adult in them. The next move is not Xavier's. It is Webb's. And Webb does not yet know that the game changed tonight. The dessert arrives and nobody ordered it. The waiter, Felipe, the one with the deaf sister and the easy laugh, sets 3 plates down without a word. Chocolate lava cake, vanilla cream on the side, A single lit candle in the center of Malik's plate, because Felipe noticed, sometime between the breadbasket and the pasta course, that this small boy with sapphire hearing aids was the reason this table existed tonight, and that whatever storm was moving through the adults around him had not touched him yet, and that it should not touch him yet. Malik looks at the candle, then looks at Felipe. Signs, "Thank you." Felipe signs back, unpracticed, approximate, but unmistakable. "You're welcome." Malik's face does the sunrise thing again. Full, total, impossible to look away from. And for exactly 40 seconds, something at table 7 exhales. Zavier watches his son and does not speak. Sebastien watches Zavier watch his son and does not speak. The candle in the lava cake pushes its small light upward, and the crystal glasses catch it, and the city outside the window continues its indifferent 43-floor glitter, and in this specific 40-second window, none of the things that are true outside this room are as loud as the thing happening inside it. Then, Xavier's phone vibrates. He has turned it back on. He did it quietly, 3 minutes after returning from the terrace, without announcing it, in the way he does everything. Without announcement, without performance, just the clean execution of a decision already made. He looks at the screen. His thumb does not press the bare wrist this time. His thumb goes still entirely. He stands. 2 minutes, he says to Malik, signs it simultaneously. 2 minutes. Do not let Sebastien leave. Malik signs back with complete seriousness. I'll give him more bread. Sebastien almost smiles. Almost. Xavier steps to the far corner of the private dining room. Not outside, not the terrace, just far enough that his voice does not carry to the table, and takes the call. Sebastien watches him, reads what he can from the back of a man standing very still, with a phone against his ear, the shoulders, the neck. The single moment where the right hand comes up and presses flat against the wall beside him, not leaning, not casual, pressing. The way a person presses when something they are hearing requires a physical anchor to process. 38 seconds. Xavier hangs up, stands with his hands still against the wall for 3 more seconds. Then, he turns around and walks back to the table, and the expression on his face is one that Sebastien has not seen before on this man, in any room, in any city, under any circumstances. It is not fear. Zavier Okafor does not do fear in any form that looks like fear. It is the expression of a man who has just discovered that the problem he thought he had is significantly smaller than the problem he actually has. He sits down. Malik looks at his father, signs immediately. What happened? Xavier looks at his son for a moment, signs back, finish your dessert. Then, in the same fluid motion, he turns to Sebastien and drops his voice to a register that does not travel. Webb moved the money tonight, not in 72 hours. Tonight, all of it, in one transfer. Sebastien sets down his fork. That's not the timeline. The timeline changed. Xavier's eyes are steady and completely cold. Someone told him to move it early. Someone who knew that the timeline had been compromised. The sentence arranges itself in the air between them. Sebastien hears it, processes it, follows it to its only logical destination. You think I told someone, Sebastien says. Flat. No inflection on it. Just the direct line of a man who has heard an accusation before and knows how to face one without flinching. I think someone in your circle told someone. Whether you knew about it is a separate question. I left my phone at my apartment. You left a phone at your apartment? The distinction is surgical, and it lands exactly where Xavier intends it to land. Sebastien holds his gaze. His jaw is working. Not from guilt. The eyes are wrong for guilt. They are too direct, too level. From something closer to fury. The specific fury of a person who has taken a real risk and is now being told that the risk was turned against them without their knowledge. I have one phone, Sebastien says. Your father has resources, Sebastien. You think my father... He stops. His hand goes to his belly. The motion is not the protected reflex from earlier in the evening. It is something raw, and something that lives beneath the composure and just broke through for one unguarded second. You think my father tipped Webb through me, using me as the delivery vehicle, without telling me. Xavier says nothing, which is confirmation. The candle in Malik's lava cake has burned down to a stub. Malik is eating with focused contentment, watching the two adults with his peripheral vision, the way children watch things they have decided to pretend not to watch. Sebastien looks at the table, at the white cloth, at his own hands. My father, he says slowly, has been trying to manage this pregnancy since he found out at 14 weeks. He has an idea about what it means for the family, about optics, about the arrangement he wants to make. A pause. He does not know who the father is. He has guesses, and he has been making moves based on his best guess. He looks up. If he gave Webb information tonight, it was not to protect the Mercer family. It was to accelerate the situation, force a confrontation, get you and me in a room together on his timeline instead of ours. Xavier's eyes do not move from Sebastian's face. He succeeded, Xavier says. Sebastien exhales. Yes, he says. He did. Malik sets down his spoon. Signs to his father. The man in the gray suit is outside the window. Both adults turn. The private dining room of Aurum has floor-to-ceiling glass on the city-facing wall. 43 floors up, no external walkway, no terrace access from this angle. A man standing outside that window is a physical impossibility. But Malik is pointing at the reflection in the glass. Carter Reed. Standing inside the main dining room, visible in the window's surface reflection. He has come back. He is not alone this time. The man beside him is broad-shouldered in a dark coat and is looking directly at the private dining room entrance, with the focused patience of someone who has been told to wait and intends to wait for exactly as long as it takes. Xavier looks at Deshawn, stationed at the entrance. Deshawn gives him a single signal. 2 fingers pointed down. 2 more outside the building. Sebastian's father has not sent a retrieval. He has sent a containment. And Zavier Okafor, for the first time tonight, recalculates everything. Because this is no longer about Marcus Webb or the Mercer family or the Hartgrove consultation or the 12 million in a shell company. This is about a father who has decided that tonight is the night to close every exit. And the only 2 people standing between that decision and its consequences are sitting at table 7, with a 7-year-old boy between them who has finished his dessert and is now very carefully, very deliberately, signing a single word at the reflection in the glass. No. Xavier is on his feet before the sign leaves Malik's hands. He signs to his son in one fast, fluid sweep. Stand up. Come to me. Now. Leave everything on the table. Malik does not hesitate. He slides out of his chair, steps around the breadbasket, and walks directly to his father's left side, the side Xavier always puts him on, the side that keeps him closest to the wall and furthest from any entrance. 7 years old, and he already knows his position without being told. That knowledge, that muscle memory of proximity and safety, is the most expensive thing Zavier Okafor has ever purchased, and it cost him nothing he can name. He puts his hand on Malik's shoulder, looks at Sebastian. There is a service exit on the north side of this floor, Xavier says. Felipe knows where it is. It goes to a freight elevator that exits into the loading dock on 53rd. Marco is 3 minutes out. Sebastian pushes his chair back. Your car will be flagged the moment it pulls up. Marco is not driving my car tonight. What is he driving? A 2019 Dodge Caravan registered to a catering company that services this building 3 times a week. It has never been associated with me, and it never will be. He pauses. Can you move fast? Sebastian looks at him with an expression that manages to be both offended and practical simultaneously. I am 26 weeks pregnant. I am not an invalid. I didn't say invalid. I said fast. I can move. Then move. Xavier crosses to the dining room entrance. He and Deshawn exchange 7 words and 2 hand signals. Deshawn turns and speaks quietly to the second member of the security detail, a woman named Kezia, small and sharp-eyed and wearing a server's uniform that nobody has questioned all evening, who immediately peels away toward the kitchen. Carter Reed's reflection in the glass does not move. The broad-shouldered man in the dark coat does not move. They are waiting for someone to try to leave through the front. Felipe appears at Xavier's elbow. He has read the room with the same speed he reads his deaf sister's face, completely, without being asked, without needing it explained. He tips his head toward the kitchen door. Zavier nods once. They move. The kitchen of Aurum at this hour is a controlled storm of heat and motion and stainless steel. Flames high on 6 burners. Sauces reduced to silk. A pastry chef plating something architectural under a heat lamp. Every person in white moving with the choreographed efficiency of a team that has been doing this long enough to make it look effortless. The head chef, a tall woman named Dorothea, with burn scars on both forearms, and the unbothered demeanor of someone who has seen every kind of drama walk through her kitchen, glances up as the group moves through, clocks the situation in 1 second flat, and goes back to her sauce. She has seen everything. She will say nothing. The north service corridor is narrow and lit with the flat white utility light of a space not designed for guests. Felipe leads. Kezia is behind Sebastien. Maud Deschamps is last, watching the corridor behind them. The freight elevator door is industrial gray, dented at the bottom left corner, and takes 11 seconds to arrive after the button is pressed. 11 seconds is a long time when Carter Reed's employer is standing 60 feet away. Malik stands next to his father, one hand wrapped around 2 of Zavier's fingers. Not gripping, holding. The particular hold of a child who has decided that he is not scared, but would prefer the physical connection anyway. Thank you, as a precaution. He is looking at the elevator door with the focused attention of someone who has decided that watching the door will make it open faster. Sebastien stands on Zavier's right, 3 feet of corridor space between them. When we get to the car, Sebastien says quietly, looking at the elevator door, I need to call Miss Odette. Your housekeeper. She's alone in my apartment with a monitored phone and 2 men outside the building. She does not know any of this is happening. Zavier pulls a phone from his inside jacket pocket. Not his regular phone. A second one, matte black. No case. He holds it out to Sebastien without looking at him. This one is clean. The number won't trace back to anything she knows. Dial 9 first. Sebastien takes it. Their fingers do not touch. The exchange is fast and functional, and both of them are looking at the elevator door. The elevator arrives. The group moves in. The door closes. In the descending steel box, in the flat white light, with the hum of the cable system and the faint smell of freight and cleaning solvent, Malik looks up at Sebastien, thinks for a moment, and then signs, Are you coming with us? Sebastien looks at the boy, looks at the question in his hands, at the complete and undefended openness of a 7-year-old asking the thing that the adults in the room are not yet addressing directly, because 7-year-olds do not have the available patience for indirection. Before Sebastien can answer, before he can find the right shape for something this complicated, Zavier speaks. Yes, Zavier says. He does not look at Sebastien when he says it. He is looking at the elevator display. Floor 30, floor 29, floor 28. He says it the way he signs, You are safe to his son. Not a feeling, a declaration. A load-bearing wall inside a structure he's already building. Sebastien stares at the side of Zavier's face. Zavier does not turn. Floor 15, floor 14, floor 13. Malik nods, satisfied. Signs to himself, Okay. Rests the side of his head briefly against his father's arm and watches the numbers count down. And in the main dining room, 43 floors above them, Carter Reed has just received a message on his phone and is reading it with the expression of a man being told something he was not prepared for. His employer, Sebastien's father, Beaumont Bouchard-Williams, 62 years old, 12 floors away in a suite at the hotel, connected to this building by a sky bridge, has just discovered that table 7 is empty. The breadbasket is still there. 3 dessert plates, 2 half-finished, 1 completely clean, and a cloth napkin, folded carefully over a piece of bread that was saved for someone who needed it. The loading dock is cold and smells like wet concrete and exhaust. The Dodge Caravan is already there. Marco at the wheel, baseball cap, civilian jacket, looking like someone's uncle waiting to pick up catering equipment. They get in. The door slides shut. The van moves, and Beaumont Bouchard-Williams, standing at the window of his Skybridge suite with his phone in one hand and Carter Reed's report in the other, looks out at the Manhattan night, and understands that his son did not walk into that restaurant to deliver a warning. His son walked in to choose a side, and the side his son chose is pulling away right now in a vehicle he cannot trace. His phone call to Carter Reed lasts 4 seconds. The instruction he gives is 2 words, and Carter Reed, who has worked for this man for 9 years and has never once refused a direct order, stands in the empty private dining room of Aurum and looks at the folded napkin over the saved piece of bread and takes exactly 6 seconds longer than usual before he picks up his own phone to execute. 6 seconds is not a long time, but in 6 seconds, a man can change his mind. Whether Carter Reed does or not is something the night has not yet decided. The Dodge Caravan stops once, not for a light, not for traffic. Marco pulls over on a side street 3 blocks from Aurum and says 2 words over his shoulder, "Blue Honda," and then says nothing else because Marco has never needed more words than the situation requires, and a blue Honda that has been running parallel to them since 54th Street requires exactly 2. Zavier looks through the rear window. The Honda is parked half a block back, engine running, no lights. So I'm waiting to see if the van moves again or stops. Kezia, seated in the back row, speaks quietly. Plates are a rental. Newark pickup, 3 days ago. Driver? 1 male. Camera angle's wrong for a face. Zavier looks at the Honda for a moment, then, Marco, take the tunnel. Marco pulls back into traffic. No urgency, no sudden acceleration. The practiced casual movement of a man who knows that the goal is not to run. The goal is to be boring enough that following becomes expensive. Malik is asleep. It happened at some point between the freight elevator and the loading dock, the way it always happens with him. The switch thrown, the lights out, complete and total. He is buckled into the middle seat with his head against Zavier's shoulder, and his mouth slightly open, and his sapphire hearing aids still in, and he looks so entirely at peace that something about it feels like a rebuke to every complication currently occupying the same vehicle. Sebastien is on the other side of the middle seat, 3 feet of bench between them. He is on Zavier's clean phone. Speaking quietly, turned slightly toward the window, one hand still on his belly, the other pressing the phone close. Miss Odette, listen to me. I need you to take your coat, your bag, the brown envelope in the top kitchen drawer. Go out the building's back exit, the one by the laundry room, not the lobby. Don't take the elevator. Take the stairs. A pause. Yes, right now. There is a car coming. A gray Toyota. The driver is named Priscilla. She will say the word Magnolia before you get in. Don't get in the car if she doesn't say it. Another pause, longer this time. I know it's late. I know, I'm sorry. Take your blood pressure medication first if you haven't. Yes, I know you have it. I ordered the refill. Go. I'll explain everything when I see you. He hangs up, holds the phone in his lap, looks at the city moving past the window. She's been with you a long time, Zavier says. 11 years. Sebastian's voice has the particular quality of someone talking about a person they refuse to let become a casualty of their own choices. She was with my mother before that. She has been making me eat sweet potatoes every morning for 6 months, and telling me that everything will be fine in the voice she uses, when she is not entirely sure everything will be fine. Zavier looks at the back of Marco's head. Where is she going? A cousin in Queens. The cousin does not know my family and has never been connected to any of us in any documentation. He pauses. I set this up 3 weeks ago, when the web information first came to me, and I realized how large the structure was. You set up an evacuation plan for your housekeeper 3 weeks ago. I set up contingencies for everyone in my household 3 weeks ago. Miss Odette, my driver Terrell, the woman who cleans on Tuesdays. He looks at Zavier directly. Because I knew that when I brought this information to you, the people around me would become pressure points, and I was not going to let that happen. The van enters the tunnel. The city disappears behind them. The tunnel walls replace the skyline. Yellow light at intervals, the particular compressed acoustic of an underground passage. Marco's hands steady on the wheel. The Honda, nowhere in the rearview mirror. Malik shifts in his sleep. His head stays on his father's shoulder. His fingers move slightly, signing in his dream, the way he sometimes does. private words to nobody in the language he lives in. Xavier watches his son's fingers for a moment. He dreams in sign language, Sebastien says. He always has. What's he saying? Xavier watches the moving hands, small, certain. Even in sleep, the signs are clear. He's quiet for a moment. He's describing something beautiful, Xavier says. He does that. In his dreams, he narrates beautiful things. Color, mostly, and music. He describes what music looks like, the shape of it. Sebastien is very still. He told me once, Xavier continues, and his voice has shifted into a register that does not appear often. Not lower, not softer, just different. No, like a door opening into a room that is usually closed. That when he was very small and he first understood that other people heard things he couldn't, he was not sad about it. He was curious. He wanted to know what sound looked like. So he started asking people to describe it. And when they couldn't, a pause. He decided to describe it himself. The tunnel ends, the city returns. Queens spreads ahead of them, its own particular grid of light and dark. Sebastien looks at the sleeping boy, at the moving fingers, at the sapphire hearing aids that catch the streetlight coming through the window in small blue flashes. Something is happening on his face that he is not attempting to manage. It is not performance. It is not strategy. It is the unguarded expression of a man who walked into a restaurant tonight carrying 11 days of calculated information and a 26-week secret and a plan that was organized down to the last detail, and has arrived somewhere in the space between the freight elevator and this tunnel and this sleeping child's dreaming hands, at a place he did not plan for, a place that feels, against all probability, like solid ground. He does not say this. He does not say anything. He turns back to the window, and then his phone, the clean one, Xavier's, vibrates once. He looks at the screen, blocked number, text only, 3 words. He knows everything. Sebastien's hand tightens on the phone. Xavier. Xavier looks at the screen, reads the 3 words. His jaw sets. Who sent that? Sebastien says. I don't know yet. Xavier takes the phone. Types a 4-digit code into a secondary screen that Sebastien didn't know existed. Waits. The screen returns a single result. A routing identifier, a timestamp, and a name. Xavier stares at the name for 3 full seconds. Then he looks at the back of Marco's head. Change of destination, he says. Marco doesn't ask where. He already knows. And in a building 12 floors above Aurum, Beaumont Bouchard-Williams is no longer standing at the window. He is seated now at a desk, with a folder open in front of him, and a man named Ellison Hartgrove on speakerphone. And the word he uses for his son, the word he uses in the sentence that begins the call, is not Sebastien. It is not even bash. It is a word that means property, a word that means managed. Kid, a word that Sebastien Bouchard-Williams has been running from since he was old enough to understand what it meant for a person like him to be born into a family like his. And the reason he walked into Aurum tonight was not just the web information, not just the twins, not just the countdown clock, not just Malik. It was this. The call he knew was coming. The folder he knew his father was building. The name his father uses when he has decided that a door needs to be closed permanently. And the only thing standing between that door and the people inside this van is a man in a black suit with a missing cufflink, who just said change of destination in a voice that left no room for anything, except the absolute certainty that wherever they are going next, it will be the place where this ends. One way or the other. The building has no name on the front. Midtown, West Side. A glass tower that from the street looks like 17 other glass towers on 17 other blocks in this city. The lobby has 2 security guards, a desk with a single orchid on it, and an elevator bank that requires a key card at every floor. It is the kind of building that does not advertise what it contains, because the people who need to know what it contains already know. Marco pulls up to the service entrance. Xavier is out before the van fully stops. He opens the side door. Malik is awake. He woke in the last 3 blocks, the way he always wakes, immediately and completely. No gradient. Sitting straight up with clear eyes, and the focused attention of someone returning to a room they never fully left. He looks at his father. Signs. Where are we? Zavier signs. Safe place. Come. Malik slides out, takes his father's hand, looks at the building. Signs. It looks important. Zavier signs back. It is. Sebastien gets out. Stands on the street in the February cold, one hand on the van door, looking up at the building. This is your secondary office, he says. Not a question. It's not on any document connected to my name. Zavier's already moving toward the entrance, which means it is the one place in this city where my father-in-law's lawyers cannot put me on record for the next 3 hours. Sebastien stops walking. Your father-in-law? Zavier doesn't stop. Former. Malik's mother's father. He sits on the Mercer board. A pause in his stride. Not a full stop. Just a fraction of a second, where the next step is slightly slower than the one before it. Oh, that is the piece I did not have until 20 minutes ago. That is what he knows everything means. Sebastien stares at the back of Zavier's moving figure. Puts it together in 3 seconds. The Mercer family. The Shell Company. The Hartgrove consultation about Omega parental rights and Alpha criminal histories. The custody threat aimed at Malik. All of it connected not just to a business rival, but to a grieving grandfather who has decided that the best way to hold on to the last piece of his daughter is to take her son from the man she left behind. And Beaumont Bouchard-Williams, Sebastien's father, who has been making moves based on his best guess about the father of Sebastien's twins, guessed right, confirmed it somehow, and called Ellison Hartgrove not to build a case against Zavier, but to sell that confirmation to the one man in New York City who would pay anything for it. One enemy became two. Two became a structure, and the structure has been standing for longer than either of them knew. They go inside. The office on the 31st floor is minimal and exact. A desk, a conference table, a wall of windows overlooking the Hudson. 3 laptops open and running. A man named Darnell is already seated at the conference table when they come in. 38 years old. The build of someone who was an athlete and kept most of it. A yellow legal pad covered in handwriting in front of him. Reading glasses that he pulls off the moment the door opens. Darnell is Zavier's attorney. He has clearly been here for a while. How bad, Zavier says, shrugging off his jacket. Darnell looks at Sebastien, at Sebastien's belly, at Malik, who has immediately located the single houseplant in the corner of the room and is inspecting it with forensic interest. The Hartgrove filing is prepared, Darnell says. It has not been submitted yet. There is a window, potentially 8 hours, before the court opens in the morning. That window is the entirety of what we have. He places one hand flat on the legal pad. The web transfer triggered an automated compliance flag at the bank at 11:17 tonight, which means there is already a paper trail we did not create. That is the one piece of good news. What's the bad news? Zavier says. The bad news is that the compliance flag will also trigger an internal review at Westbrook Capital that we cannot control the timing of. The review board has 3 members. One of them has a relationship with the Mercer family that I discovered 40 minutes ago and wish I had discovered 40 months ago. Darnell pauses. He will try to accelerate the review. Get findings on record before we can file our counter-documentation. His name, Zavier says. Darnell says the name. Zavier stands very still. The name belongs to a man who has eaten at his table, who attended Malik's 5th birthday, who signed the foundation charter 2 years ago at a ceremony where 3 senators were present, and everyone smiled for photographs. Malik has finished inspecting the plant. He wanders to the conference table, pulls out a chair with both hands, climbs into it, and folds his arms on the tabletop. Looks at Darnell, signs to his father. Is he a good man? Zavier looks at Darnell. Darnell? Who does not sign? Looks at Malik and understands anyway from the direction of the question. Best I know, Darnell says to the boy directly, with the simple respect of someone who has decided not to speak past a child, just because the child is 7. Malik studies him, nods, signs to his father. Okay. Sebastien has moved to the window. He's standing with both hands on the glass, looking at the Hudson below, the dark water moving, the lights of New Jersey on the far bank. His reflection is visible in the glass. Cream sweater, round belly. the particular expression of a man adding numbers that keep coming out the same total no matter how many times he adds them. He turns. My father has Hartgrove's direct cell, he says. I know this because 18 months ago he used it in front of me to kill a legal filing that was going to surface information about my oldest brother. He called. Hartgrove answered in 2 rings. He looks at Darnell. If my father confirmed Zavier's identity to the Mercer family tonight, and they passed that to Hartgrove, the filing may not wait until morning. Darnell looks at his watch, at his legal pad, at Zavier. Then we have less than 8 hours, Darnell says, and I need the next 40 minutes to be uninterrupted. Zavier nods, looks at Kezia, who has taken a position just inside the door. Get Malik set up in the back room. There's a couch. He needs to sleep. Kezia crouches to Malik's level. Signs to him. She has 4 signs, learned specifically for this job. Come. Rest. Safe. Stay. Malik signs back with perfect, patient clarity. I know. My dad is working. He slides off the chair, takes Kezia's hand, pauses, turns back to look at Sebastien. Signs. Are you going to be here when I wake up? The room holds. Sebastien looks at the boy, at the steady, undefended question on his face. At 7 years of learning to read the world through its visible signals and arriving tonight at a man he has known for less than 4 hours and is asking to still be present. Sebastien crouches, carefully, one hand on the table for balance, to Malik's level. Signs back, slowly and clearly. Yes. Malik nods, goes with Kezia. The backroom door closes, and in the silence after, the 3 adults remaining, Zavier, Sebastien, so as Darnell, sit down at the conference table with the legal pad and the 3 open laptops and the 8 hours, that may actually be 5 hours, and the problem that has been growing since before any of them understood its full shape. Darnell uncaps his pen. Let's start from the beginning, he says. Zavier looks at Sebastien. Sebastien looks back. Neither of them looks away. No, Zavier says. Let's start from right now. The beginning doesn't matter. What matters is the next move. Darnell writes something on the legal pad. Outside the window, the Hudson moves south in the dark, carrying everything the city pours into it without complaint. And in a building 3 miles east, a man named Beaumont Bouchard-Williams is on his 4th phone call of the night, and the folder on his desk has grown by 7 pages. And the word he used to describe his son on the 3rd call, the word that means property, that means managed, is the same word he used on the 1st call. He has not considered that his son heard that word at 12 years old, has not considered what a person builds inside themselves, quietly, over 22 years, when they have been described that way by the person who was supposed to protect them, has not considered that tonight, the thing his son built is finished. And Zavier Okafor is about to find out exactly what it is. The filing hits at 4:51 in the morning. Not Hartgrove's filing, Darnell's. 47 pages. Counter documentation, financial forensics, a notarized account trail tracing every web transaction back to its origin, a certified letter from the compliance officer at the bank, time-stamping the automated flag at 11:17 the previous night, all of it submitted to the civil court clerk's electronic system at 4:51 a.m., 17 minutes before Ellison Hartgrove's filing arrives at 5:08. 17 minutes. In law, 17 minutes is a continent. Darnell sets down his pen, leans back in his chair, and says nothing for a moment. Then he says, Webb's transfer actually helped us. The automated flag created an independent record that we did not generate. That record establishes the predicate before the Mercer filing does. Their audit request now arrives after documented evidence of financial interference from the Mercer-connected structure. He pauses. They built the cage. Man, we just use the cage as evidence that the cage exists. Zavier is standing at the window. The Hudson has changed color in the last hour. Not yet light, not fully dark. That particular blue-gray of a city deciding to become morning. His jacket is off. His shirt is rolled at the sleeves. The missing cufflink on the left wrist is visible now. Not just the bare skin, but the small mark from where his thumb has been pressing it all night. A faint red circle no larger than a coin. Sebastien is at the conference table. He has been there for 4 hours, seated across from Darnell, providing the information that Darnell needed piece by piece. Dates, names, the Hartgrove phone call he witnessed 18 months ago, and the routing structure of the Bouchard-Williams family holdings that connects to the Mercer proxy in a way that took Darnell 40 minutes to follow and another 20 to confirm. He provided all of it with the same flat precision he used in the restaurant, nothing withheld, nothing softened, with the full understanding that what he was doing in this room tonight was not just protecting Zavier, it was dismantling his father. Not from hatred, from the long, clear-eyed decision of a person who has finally chosen which thing matters more. The family he was born into or the family that is still being built. Darnell closes the last laptop. Marcus Webb will be served at 7 a.m., he says. His employment is terminated as of midnight last night. I have Zavier's authorized signature on the documentation from 3 hours ago. And the internal review board member with the Mercer connection will find that his relationship with the Mercer family is now part of the counter-filing and therefore part of a public record. He looks at Zavier. He will recuse himself before 9 a.m. I would bet my license on it. And Hartgrove, Zavier says. Hartgrove's filing has no predicate to stand on. The financial misconduct it claims to surface is already documented as the product of a third-party interference scheme. Any judge who reads both filings in sequence will see it. The Mercer family's proxy petition dies before it gets a hearing date. Darnell pauses. As for Malik's custody arrangement, it is unchanged. It has always been unchanged. There was never a real legal threat. There was only the threat of a threat, designed to make you spend resources and attention fighting a ghost instead of the real problem. Zavier turns from the window. The real problem, he says. Darnell looks at Sebastien, then back at Zavier. The real problem, Darnell says, is Beaumont Bouchard-Williams. What he did tonight, selling the paternity confirmation to the Mercer family, is potentially actionable. It depends on whether we can document the communication between him and the Mercer representative. That work is for tomorrow. Today we have stopped the bleeding. He picks up the legal pad, stands. I am going to go home and sleep for 3 hours, and then come back and do the part that requires me to be awake. He looks at both of them. I suggest you do the same. He leaves. The door closes. The office is quiet. The Hudson is gray-blue below them, and the city is beginning its morning sequence. A garbage truck somewhere on the block below. A light coming on in a building across the street. The particular shift in the quality of the darkness that means the sun is coming, even though it has not arrived. Zavier and Sebastien are alone for the first time since the terrace. The night is between them. All of it. Every piece. The dropped glass at table 7. Carter Reed's reflection in the window. The freight elevator and the Dodge Caravan, and Marco's 2 words about a blue Honda. The clean phone and Miss Odette and the word Magnolia. The 3 words in a text that arrived on a phone that was supposed to be untraceable. The conference table and the legal pad and 47 pages filed 17 minutes ahead of the attempt to close every door. All of it. I sitting in the room between 2 people who have not slept and have not said the things that exist underneath all of the things they have said. Sebastien speaks first. I need to tell you something that is not about the case. Zavier waits. For the first 11 weeks, I was certain I was managing it alone, and certain that was the correct decision. Sebastien looks at the table, at his own hands. At 12 weeks, Miss Odette made me sweet potatoes and sat across from me at my kitchen table and said, he pauses. She said, "You are allowed to be scared. You are also not allowed to confuse being scared with being alone. They are not the same thing." He looks up. I did not call you because I thought I was protecting you. I told myself I was protecting you. He breathes. I was protecting myself. From the version of this where you did not want it, and I had to hold that and keep going anyway. The city below is getting louder by degrees. Zavier crosses the room. He does not sit down. He stands at the edge of the table, close enough that the space between them is no longer 3 feet of bench or 2 feet of cold terrace air or the white expanse of a restaurant tablecloth. I knew, he says. Sebastien looks at him. Not the specifics, not the 26 weeks. But I knew something had changed after Chicago, and I chose. He stops. The jaw moves. I chose the version of not knowing, because the version of knowing required me to look at what I want, and I have spent a long time being very disciplined about not doing that. What do you want? Sebastien says. The question is not a challenge. It is not a test. Now, it is the simplest form of a thing. 4 words, asked by a man who has been carrying 26 weeks of something enormous and is asking at 5:15 in the morning, with the Hudson turning gold below them, for the truth. Zavier looks at him, at the cream sweater, at the belly, at the dark eyes that have been steady and sharp and calculating all night and are now, in this specific 5:15 in the morning moment, just open, just waiting. This, Zavier says, not decorated, not explained. Just the single word, placed in the air between them with the same finality, he places everything. Decisions, declarations, the signed documentation of a 47-page counterfiling. Complete, irrevocable. Sebastien exhales, and something that has been held rigid for 26 weeks, something behind the composure, beneath the strategy, now inside the part of him that has been pressing flat against the table and breathing through the cold and managing every exit, releases. Not dramatically, not with noise, just releases. The way pressure releases, the way a window opened after a long time indoors, releases something that you did not know had been accumulating until the moment it is gone. He nods once. Okay, he says. The back room door opens. Malik stands in the doorway in his socks, hair sideways from the couch cushion, hearing aids still in, eyes doing their immediate full-awake inventory of the room. He takes in the 2 adults at the conference table, the open window, the morning light beginning to push against the glass. Signs to his father, "Did you fix it?" Zavier looks at his son, signs back most of it. Malik considers this with the precise judgment of someone for whom most is an acceptable answer when the person giving it has been awake all night. He walks to the conference table, pulls out a chair, sits, looks at Sebastien, signs. Are you staying? Sebastien looks at Zavier. Zavier looks at his son, signs to Malik. Yes, he's staying. Malik nods, satisfied, pulls the legal pad toward him and examines Darnell's handwriting with the critical attention of someone who has decided to have opinions about penmanship. Signs without looking up. His letters are messy. Your letters are neater. Then, because he is 7 years old and has been patient for an extraordinarily long time, and has saved bread for strangers and read rooms that most adults miss, and asked the questions that the adults around him were not asking, and has slept through the most important night of his father's last 5 years, and has woken up in a new place without complaint. Because of all of that, Malik Okafor puts the legal pad down and signs one more thing. Not to his father, not to Sebastien, to both of them. Equal and direct, and completely without self-consciousness. Good morning. The Hudson is gold now. The city is all the way awake. And at a desk 3 miles east, Beaumont Bouchard-Williams is on his first call of the morning, and the voice on the other end is delivering news he did not anticipate. And in the folder on his desk with 7 new pages is about to become relevant in a direction he did not plan for. The cage he built is still standing. It is just that the person inside it is no longer his son. And Marcus Webb, at 7:03 a.m., opens his front door to find 2 people he has never seen before, with documents he has spent 8 months hoping would never exist. And the look on his face in the moment before he understands what is happening is the look of a man who made the most expensive mistake of his career. He trusted that nobody was watching. Somebody was always watching. They always are. And Darnell, 3 hours from now, will sit across from a judge with 47 pages and 17 minutes and the quiet, precise confidence of a man who knows that the law is a language and he is fluent in it. And he will say everything that needs to be said in the exact order it needs to be said. And when he is done, The cage will not just be opened, it will be documented. The record will show that it existed. The record will show who built it. And the record will show, in time-stamped, notarized, independently verifiable detail, that a man in a black suit with a missing cufflink and a pregnant omega, who walked into a restaurant uninvited, and a 7-year-old boy who saves bread for strangers and signs good morning to people he has known for 12 hours, together, in one night, between a dropped glass and a golden river, took the cage apart, piece by piece. If this story moved you, challenged you, or made you feel something real, drop a comment below and tell us what moment hit you hardest. Was it Malik saving the bread? No, Sebastien walking through that door? Or the 17 minutes that changed everything? Your thoughts inspire more stories like this one, and every comment helps this community grow. Subscribe to this channel and turn on notifications right now, because the stories coming next will go even deeper, hit even harder, and remind you that the most powerful thing in any room is never the person with the most money. It is the person who decides that enough is enough. Share this story with someone who needs to hear it today. We will see you in the next one.